All right, y'all, welcome back to the channel. And today I wanted to do a quick watch along on a short little video. It's very telling, and the only way that we can learn from history is to not repeat it. Very interesting how when you listen to what people say and what they do, it reveals their ideology, and we want to know how we ended up so rapidly in Clown World 2.0. Well, the video today is a quick interview with Charlie Munger. And for those of you that don't know who Charlie Munger is Warren Buffett's business partner. Warren Buffett is the Oracle of Omaha. He founded Berkshire Hathaway. He's worth billions and billions of dollars. Warren Buffett also is I know for a fact, the largest initial contributor to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. He donated a minimum of $100 million when they started the foundation. So all the great stuff that Bill has done around the world has been fully funded by Warren Buffett. So I know a lot of people like to look to Warren Buffett as like this self-made dude, and he's so great and awesome. But I would say, especially after you listen to his business partner and their ideology and all these different things, I would say that these are the plutocratic, technocratic oligarchy. Okay. And it just oozes out of them. And it's kind of unbelievable to listen to them talk. And what's even worse is the stuff they say. And it's just such postmodern trash. This is also an overemphasis on why I am an Austrian economist and why most of these smartest guys in the room in America, one, they're all communists. And you say, oh, how can a billionaire be a communist? Well, hey, look, if you're already at the top of the food chain, you're really cool with socialism and a ruling class and a leading class because you're at the top of the pyramid. So you know the plebs can do anything that benefits you. So if it's socialism, if it's communism, if it's fascism, but y'all have to listen. And this is why higher education is terrible, because this stuff that Munger is spewing, this 80-year-old dude, or however old he is. I don't know how old Charlie Munger is. He's definitely way older than 80. And he's well preserved, just like Heinz Kissinger, Jorge Soros, these guys that just refuse to die because Satan just preserves them. But I want you to listen. This is a 4-minute quick little interview. And of course, the person that's interviewing Munger is going to lob him this softball question like, okay, Charlie, tell us why China's so great. And y'all need to listen to what this guy says. And and it's very interesting how these guys supposedly bootstrapped and pulled themselves up and took a hold of the American opportunity and made themselves billionaires. But when you go back and you study these guys and you see the connections and the ties that they had or that their parents had, like Bill Gates, with his dad and Planned Parenthood and all this stuff, what you'll find out is if you go through history, you'll see that these guys were kind of selected and their parents were already part of the system. And this is where these Merovingian bloodline, concepts come from, because these people are all interrelated, just like all the presidents, including Barry Soetoro and all that stuff. But another thing I wanted to point out is this whole like communism is great idea has been around for an incredibly long time. When I was a financial planner, this was at least 20 years ago. We had fund managers coming into our office and pitching their funds. And I still remember every advisor was in the conference room. We had some fund manager pitching these Chinese mutual funds, the China of China funds, and all this stuff. And he literally said in his presentation, he said, you know why these China funds are so great? Because I can't even say it without laughing. He said they're so great because all the companies inside these portfolios are owned by the Chinese government, so they can't fail. So this makes these funds so great. And I literally said, and I was the youngest guy in the room, and I was like, they're communists, right? And I kind of chuckled and laughed. And like he looked at me sideways and he was kind of ticked or whatever. And I'm like, dude, like talk about like, you feel like you are in an Orwell novel. It was very strange. And I'm just like, wow, this is so weird. And why does it sound like what I'm saying is foreign? But let's jump into this Munger clip, and it'll be very interesting when you hear what he has to say.
Mr. Munger, as a student of Chinese history, my question concerns China. In 1860, GDP per capita in China was 600. In 1978, the year Deng Xiaoping took over, it was 300. Today, it hovers around 9,500. Never before in the history of mankind have we seen such a rapid eradication of poverty, pulling approximately 800 million people out of destitution. You are on record as a zealous fan of the Chinese work ethic and Confucian values system. As we can see from the deteriorating U.S. relationship with China, the Western world does not understand China. What can we do to increase knowledge, understanding, and appreciation of the Chinese civilization?
Well, it's natural for people to think their own civilization and their own nation is better than everybody else. But everybody can't be better than everybody else. You're right, China's economic record among the big nations is the best that ever existed in the history of the world. And that's very interesting. A lot of people assume that since England led the Industrial Revolution and had free speech early.
Free speech. Y'all listen to this. Wait till you hear what this technocratic oligarch, this, wait till you hear what this guy is going to say about free speech.
That free speech is required to have a booming economy as prescribed by Adam Smith. But the Chinese have proved you don't need free speech to have a wonderful economy. They just copied Adam Smith and left out the free speech, and it worked fine for them. As a matter of fact, it's not clear to me that China would have done better if they'd copied every aspect of English civilization. I think they would have come out worse because their position was so dire and the poverty was so extreme. They needed very extreme methods, totalitarian methods, if you will, to get out of the fix they were in. So
they needed totalitarian methods. They needed like slave labor camps. They needed like Uyghur prison camps. They needed like high rises and weld the doors shut, during the pandemic thing. They needed totalitarian methods. And this guy's a billionaire and he made his billions in America. And his ideology is ultra fascist. And of course, he's some white dude, which makes it even more ironic. And all of this anti-white rhetoric, but yet all of these ultra mega ancient white dudes like Heinz Kissinger and like Charlie Munger and like Warren Buffett and like Bill Gates, all a bunch of white dudes. And all that ruling class are a bunch of white dudes. And that's why they want to weaponize every race against white people. Why? Because they're already at the top. It's the same thing. It's the same reason you demonize and crush capitalism. Because if you're already at the top and you're in with the banks and the banking system and you're cool with the bankers, it doesn't matter what happens to everybody else, because what happens to everybody else ensures that you stay at the top. And your eugenics, death propaganda just continues to procreate itself.
So I think what China has done was probably right for China, and that we shouldn't be so pompous as to be telling the Chinese they ought to behave like us because we like ourselves and our system. It's entirely possible that our system is right for us and their system is right for them.
Huh?
Gavin Smith from Berkshire, England, he asked, Mr. Munger is a champion of Chinese stocks. How concerned is he about Chinese government interference as seen recently with Ant Financial, Alibaba, and Mr. Jack Ma? What, for example, is to stop the Chinese government from simply deciding one day to nationalize BYD?
Well, I consider that very unlikely. And I think Jack Ma was very arrogant to be telling the Chinese government how dumb they were and how stupid their policies were and so forth. Considering their system, that is not what he should have been doing.
Oh, yeah, Jack Ma. He was really dumb for speaking the truth and saying what reality was. And he should have just been a propaganda puppet talking head. So that way he could aggrandize himself, right? And they could continue to enslave people and abuse people and torture people for the sake of the totalitarian regime. That's Charlie Munger, that ancient billionaire white dude. That's Charlie Munger. And people are listening to this guy and like, oh, this guy's so smart. And let's ask him why. Because he's a white billionaire dude.
And no, I don't think that. I think the Chinese have behaved very, very shrewdly in managing their economy, and they've gotten better results than we have in managing our economy. And I think that will probably continue. And sure, we all love the kind of civilization we have. I'm not saying I want to live in China. I prefer the United States.
Oh, you prefer the United States, huh, Charlie? What a clown. Pack that technocratic. Put him in a Uyghur camp and then report back to us, Charlie.
But I do admire what the Chinese have done. How can you not do it? Nobody else has ever taken.
Slurp your Diet Coke, Charlie, if that's what's in there. Please drink a whole 40 pack of Diet Coke, Charlie. Do the world a favor.
A big country out of poverty so fast and so long.
Oh.
And what I see in China now just staggers me. There are factories in China that are just absolutely full of robots and are working beautifully. They're no longer using peasant girls to beat the brains out of our little shoe companies in America. They are joining the modern world very rapidly, and they're getting very skillful at operating.
Oh, it's so great what they're doing over there. Automation Nation, and they're roboticizing everything. And all those people they brought out of poverty, well, now once they automate everything, they won't have a job again. And then they'll go back into poverty, and the government doesn't care because it's all about the government. And yeah, I mean, free speech is overrated, and so is freedom. And I mean, if you can get results by locking people into labor camps and paying them nothing, I mean, that's really what's most important. And I mean, hey, look, it worked for China. I mean, and just because none of us want to experience that and none of us want to live there, and Adam Smith and free speech, and here, that's where we are, y'all. If you want to know how we got into Clown World 2.0, it's because that kind of puke gets spewed at all these ivory tower places of higher learning, and people worship guys like Bill Gates and Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett and Oprah Winfrey and fill in the blank, all the ruling oligarchy of the caste system of postmodern, post-truth America. And Charlie Munger can sit there and say just that absolutely repugnant and like history denying revisionist trash. And it's just like, oh, yes, please, Charlie Just tell us all these great oracle of truth. Tell us why you see these Chinese investments as so great. And he goes on to regurgitate just total propaganda, not eugenics nonsense. And then mocks Jack Ma, and because the Chinese government sent him to a re-education camp, and he got re-educated. But the one thing Jack Ma didn't know is he didn't know to get into the ancient white guy club, to be at the top of the pyramid before and remember your talking points, Jack. So very interesting stuff. But I hope that you at least found that quick little video not just incredibly interesting, but um, relatively disgusting. But how did we get here? Because of stuff like this, and because of Charlie Munger, and because Charlie Munger's just complete revision of history, and the complete ignorance of all the principles that enabled him supposedly to become a billionaire, and to just completely and utterly just vomit all over that with just ignorance. And why in the world would we ask a guy that is that ignorant anything that he thinks? He just needs to choke on a Diet Coke. And he's drinking a Diet Coke, and he's sitting in a wheelchair. So then there's that too. But anyway, all right, y'all. Well, I just thought that was very interesting. And hey, y'all, this speaks right to my whole stocks and bonds things. And I wouldn't be anywhere near Berkshire Hathaway. I wouldn't be anywhere near the stock market. I wouldn't be anywhere near the bond market. These are the guys that are running this stuff, and they have an absolute agenda, and their agenda is absolutely wealth redistribution. And that's what every market correction is. It's absolutely wealth redistribution. And just so I can connect the dots for some of those that don't understand what that means, that is, they take from the working class and they accumulate, right, for themselves. These old white dudes like Charlie Munger that are at the top of the pyramid, with the predator class and the banking class and the district of criminals and all that good stuff. So very interesting. And here's the thing. They've written it in books, Tragedy and Hope, all about China and setting up China for this. Tragedy and Hope by Carol Quigley, first edition, tells the whole scoop. The Anglo-American Establishment is another book, goes into all that stuff, written down. It's written down. And then Charlie Munger says this trash out loud, nobody calls him on it. It's insane. But anyway, all right. Hope you all have a great day. Thanks for watching. If you appreciate our content, please go to TheTexasBoys.com. Get your honey money over there. Stock up. Fill your pantry with some honey money. Unvaccinated organic honey. Maybe get a cool t-shirt or a hat or a sweatshirt or what have you, whatever climate you're in. But thanks so much for watching. We love and appreciate you all, and we'll see you all in the next video. Bye.